Yesterday's scene inside the Supreme Court chamber left Chief Justice John Roberts visibly shaken, while Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's calm replies set social media alight and rewrote political history in under 30 seconds. What began as an ordinary oversight hearing became 2025's most talked about confrontation. In a moment, you will see how a young black legislator reshaped American politics, so stay with us and subscribe for future upgrades. The chamber, normally reserved for measured legal debate, erupted when Chief Justice Roberts did something no sitting Chief Justice had ever done on live television. He shouted at a member of Congress. His voice rose. Cameras recorded everything. Yet Representative Crockett, a 43-year-old freshman from Texas, showed no sign of fear. Her measured reaction sent a shockwave through Washington, and within minutes, the hashtag Jasmine clapback trended worldwide. While Roberts scrambled to limit the fallout, observers quickly declared that the old guard had met its match in a new generation unwilling to be silenced. To appreciate the weight of this exchange, consider the backgrounds of the two key figures. Chief Justice Roberts, 70, has led the court since 2005. He cultivated an image of institutional steadiness, his silver hair and methodical tone symbolizing traditional authority, white, male, Ivy League, and certain of his mandate. Yet he has presided over landmark, often divisive opinions, limits on voting rights protections, expanded corporate political spending, and a court now viewed as the most partisan in decades. Opposite him is Jasmine Crockett, everything that establishment figures often underestimate. Raised in Dallas, she spent years as a criminal defense lawyer representing ordinary people. Her communication style blends legal precision, social media fluency, and a directness that resonates with Americans who feel overlooked. She resists the unwritten rules that ask newcomers to remain deferential. Their collision was set in motion by a fresh Supreme Court ruling. The majority opinion, authored by Roberts, removed federal safeguards for minors seeking reproductive care. Critics said the language was detached from real-world consequences. The decision left pregnant teens dependent on state policies, even in cases of rape or incest. Congress convened emergency hearings, and Crockett arrived prepared to testify. No one expected Roberts himself to appear, yet he did, intent on defending the court's integrity. From the moment the Chief Justice took his seat, tension gripped the room. Committee Chair Jim Jordan urged deference, but Crockett signaled she would pose rigorous questions. Early exchanges remained civil, Roberts repeating standard points about judicial independence. Friction surfaced when Crockett cited polls showing plummeting public trust. Could that relate, she asked, to decisions that look more political than legal? Roberts replied that the court applies the Constitution, not opinion surveys. Crockett pressed, would rulings consistently match one party's platform? How can citizens avoid skepticism? Roberts grew terse. He warned against questioning the court's integrity. Crockett responded with a pointed inquiry. How does overturning protections for minors align with precedent on children's welfare? The room shifted. Republicans tried to interrupt. Crockett remained within protocol. Then Roberts' composure faltered. When Crockett referenced a 14-year-old rape victim unable to obtain medical care, Roberts' voice climbed. That is a gross mischaracterization, he said. Crockett calmly repeated his words. The matter was left to the states. Was forcing a child to carry a pregnancy constitutional? The Chief Justice snapped. Congresswoman Crockett, he said, perhaps you should leave complex legal matters to those who understand them. The implication that she lacked expertise hung heavily. Crockett, unperturbed, asked how many trials Roberts had litigated. Personally, she contrasted her years in courtrooms with his largely academic career. Pressing further, she noted Roberts' two adopted daughters. If one faced pregnancy after assault, would he accept forced childbirth? Roberts insisted decisions rest on constitutional interpretation, not personal feelings. Crockett observed that when it involves his daughters, feelings matter. For other people's daughters, often poor or minority interpretation prevails. At that, Roberts rose, face flushed. How dare you bring my family into this? He exclaimed. The chamber descended into chaos. Security edged forward. He continued, accusing Crockett of grandstanding. Then he uttered the phrase that would haunt him. Someone like you. Silence followed. Everyone understood the undertone of gender and race. When Roberts' outburst subsided, Crockett spoke softly. Chief Justice, thank you. You have proven every concern I raised. She summarized 20 minutes of substantive questions he had avoided. noting that instead he attacked her intelligence, reciting her credentials: top-of-class law graduate, victories in state and federal courts, hundreds of clients. She compared them with his appointment via president, who lost the popular vote in a Senate representing a minority of citizens. Yes, she concluded, I understand government. In a democracy, even justices face accountability. Crockett's closing words ended the exchange. Roberts collapsed back into his chair, visibly shaken. Chair Jordan called a recess, but the damage was done. Within minutes, clips of Roberts' "someone like you" remark dominated every platform. The hashtags #RobertsRage and #JasmineClapback trended worldwide. Legal scholars debated possible repercussions. Progressives praised Crockett's composure. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted that factual critique had prevailed over deference. Retired Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, rarely vocal at 95, described the outburst as inappropriate for any judicial officer. Some conservatives condemned Roberts' tone. Others seized the moment to argue he had long ceased representing conservative interests. The legal community responded swiftly. The American Bar Association expressed concern. Academics predicted a lasting credibility crisis. Calls for Supreme Court reform gained momentum. Term limits, expanded membership, and clearer ethics rules. Petitions demanding Roberts' resignation gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures for Crockett. Donations surged. Her statement 2 days later clarified motives. She intended to ask necessary questions about rulings that affect real lives. If doing that unsettled those in power, so be it. The phrase "someone like me" evolved into a rallying cry for professionals facing dismissal or bias. Public trust in the court, already low, fell further. Polls now show barely a quarter of Americans viewing it as impartial, with 2/3 favoring structural changes. States began reevaluating their own judicial selection processes. Major law firms quietly distanced themselves from Roberts. 3 weeks later, the Chief Justice issued a brief statement expressing regret for his tone. Without offering a direct apology, Crockett replied that genuine contrition required recusal from cases involving groups toward whom he had shown bias. Ethics complaints were filed. Law schools incorporated the incident into curricula on accountability. 6 months on, Roberts faced continued calls to step down, while Crockett's influence grew. The confrontation had redrawn expectations. Positions of authority no longer guarantee immunity from hard questions, and emerging leaders, regardless of age, race, or gender, can demand answers. Clips of the exchange remain among the most viewed. Political videos often caption "This is what courage looks like." Boardrooms, classrooms, and community groups study the episode as a case in leadership under pressure. Youth voter registration rose sharply. Many cited Crockett as inspiration to engage. In press interviews, she downplayed personal fame. "I have more work to do, more questions to ask." And that is where the story rests for now. If you found this examination of power and accountability valuable, like and subscribe for continued coverage of events shaping American democracy. Because when representatives like Jasmine Crockett speak plainly to power, the nation pays attention. The ripple effect of Jasmine Crockett's exchange didn't end at headlines or hashtags. It sparked something deeper, a reawakening in civic spaces, classrooms, and courtrooms alike. Across college campuses, student organizations held forums to unpack the incident. Law professors assigned Crockett's questioning as a case study in civil discourse and constitutional accountability. Civic educators used the moment to demonstrate how checks and balances are meant to work even between co-equal branches of government. In business and media circles, the Crockett effect became shorthand for a new kind of leadership: fact-based, calm under fire, and rooted in service over spectacle. Organizations began reassessing their internal cultures, drawing lessons from Crockett's approach. Ask bold questions. Stay focused. Don't flinch when challenged. Religious institutions joined the national dialogue too. Black churches praised Crockett's poise and moral clarity. Youth pastors cited her in sermons as a role model for speaking truth to power without losing composure, even within traditionally conservative denominations. Some leaders acknowledged the moral weight of her questions, especially those centered on justice for the vulnerable. Meanwhile, legislative energy around judicial reform gained traction. Senators introduced bills requiring formal ethics codes for Supreme Court justices, establishing clearer pathways for recusal in cases of demonstrated bias. Activist groups organized nationwide campaigns under slogans like "Justice, not just Power and the bench needs boundaries, and Jasmine Crockett, she kept moving. Despite the sudden media spotlight, she declined most television interviews, instead returning to community town halls and committee meetings. When asked about the confrontation, she consistently shifted focus. It's not about me. It's about the law working for everyone, not just the powerful. Months later, when a Supreme Court decision on voter access was handed down, Crockett was once again ready prepared with legal citations, stories from her district, and tough questions that pulled no punches. Reporters noted that Roberts, though still on the bench, carried himself with visibly more restraint. His reputation, once untouchable, now bore a permanent mark, not just because of one confrontation, but because someone challenged him and didn't back down. The broader message was clear. In a true democracy, no robe, title, or institution is immune to public scrutiny. And when someone like Jasmine Crockett demands answers not for herself, but for the people, history listens. So if you're ready to see more leaders standing their ground, challenging power, and changing what leadership looks like in America, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The next moment of truth might be just around the corner, and you won't want to miss it.